Escape from Tarkov's latest patch is an absolutely big one, especially for the new event, which looks like it is, of course, zombies. I'm coming straight out of the stream, and we're going to cover all of the extra update info that's going to be coming as well, because that looks like a big update for essentially the New Year's update that we're going to get this year. So if that sounds good, make sure to like the video, and of course, subscribe down below if you want to see some more Escape from Tarkov content here on YouTube. And we'll jump straight in. So obviously with the latest update, we have the AA-12 finally entering into the game, and basically some weapon modifications as well that we are going to see as well. We have updates to the Sig Sauer MCX as well, which you can see on screen right here with all of the different kind of updates that they've made and visual model of it. There is also some new grenades for Escape from Tarkov Arena, which is like a V40 and an M18 yellow kind of gas basically. And we've also got ourselves some drum mags, and these are both an AR-15 100 rounder, which is obviously 5.56 mil. And then we have ourselves also a 100 round Uzi 9mm mag as well that you can use, which is going to be massive for the Uzi mains out there. So all of this combined is pretty good just for kind of the update that we've got today. And so the biggest thing of this update that we have got today is of course the Labs zombie event. So we have the quest. It is available for both PvE and PvP. So whichever mode that you play, you do have access to this event. It's going to be an amazing one, just from the fact that it is even in the game. And of course, this is the Don't You Believe Your Eyes quest, which you can obtain from Jaeger. There's also a quest from Skier as well, which appears to have jumped in, which is irresistible, so you can get that as well. But in terms of this event, you have to locate the source of rumors of the living dead in the lab. So it is a lab exclusive event, so obviously you'll have to buy yourself some Labs Access keycards. We can probably expect that these keycards are actually going to go up in price. So if we go to the keycards, you can see people are buying them like hotcakes right now. And so what I'd recommend if you're jumping on right now is to go and list up your keycards, because I'm assuming that people are going to probably buy these for like 700,000. So we'll list up one of them. I want to keep a couple for myself because the restock is in like 20 minutes or so. So we'll list it up anyway. Hopefully it sells at some point. Maybe someone will go ahead and buy them up at some point as well. But obviously these are going up in price. People have preemptively been buying gas masks apparently, and these are up at like 1 mil or something like that. This may not even be a thing, but obviously you can see here there's a gas mask. They're not even on the market, but people are trying to sell them for 1 million rubles. You can see there, I expect the flea commission on this is crazy high, so it's not really worth probably selling it for 1.5 million, but you can see people obviously buying these up to be able to get them. So if you find them in your pockets in raids, it's highly recommended to go pick up some of these, because they are selling absolutely so quickly. So be aware of that if you want to, keep hold of them for future quests. But obviously, in terms of what you actually get from this, it is locating the source of rumors of the living dead in the lab. So 7k XP, you're getting paracords, rubles, and of course some Jaeger rep as well for completing the event. I would assume that given this is a relatively new event, we'll get some more information as to the following quests and everything like that. And I'll do a full breakdown of the event, especially for PvE, and how to complete it pretty quickly over the next day or so. If I can get it out tonight, I will do. But at this moment in time, we just simply do not have the information. It is about 2 minutes after the actual stream ended, and I had to update my game, so I haven't had time to go in and actually complete the quest yet, but we will be doing it as quickly as possible, and I get a video out for you guys. But obviously zombies in the lab, all of this sort of stuff, really cool for Halloween. Hopefully this event is going to last at least a couple of days, because obviously Halloween is today if you're watching this. But whether or not we'll get it until the 5th of November, or maybe they'll just even increase the length of time that this is actually available, I think that would be a better option. You know, we don't want these like 2-day events that seem to be coming up and stuff like that, or like limited time events where you've basically got no time to actually jump on. So hopefully it'll be a good one. And yeah, I'm really excited that this has come into the game. So it's just another additional thing that I think, yeah, is pretty cool. So PvE and PvP, remember. Now then, obviously that is kind of what's actually come out today. If you want to check out the actual update information that came out today, I'd highly recommend going and checking out the Escape from Tarkov news article, or you can actually go and check out yesterday's video where we covered that as well, if that's easier. But in terms of the future updates coming to the game, because these are massive, by the way, these are probably one of the biggest updates that we are going to have. In terms of today, I'll give you a brief overview. It is essentially that we have the ability to lock stashes items, so you can lock stuff in your stash, so when you auto sort, the stuff that you've locked doesn't actually get auto sorted and essentially will stay in the same spot, and anything that isn't auto, well, kind of locked in place, will move about in your stash and be sorted. So it's going to be very good for containers and that sort of stuff. So if you want to sort out stuff in your stash, it's going to make it easier. You can also sort out your stuff whilst you're actually in the kind of loading menu to a raid, which is very, very big, and kind of that is primarily what this update was. It's a lot of quality of life stuff. And of course, the introduction of the new AA-12, which is the automatic shotgun that's come into the game as well. So in terms of the new stuff, which is coming in the future, in the New Year's Eve or New Year's patch is what they've called it. And so there's quite a bit. And this is probably going to be the biggest update of next year, potentially, or at least for the next 6 months, 8 months or whatever. And so it comes in with a single-use RPG 26. This is quite controversial, to be honest, and there are quite a few controversial decisions by BSG to implement some features that are coming in the New Year's patch. And so the RPG 26 is a single-use. This was primarily, I assume, because they didn't want to introduce a rocket where everyone is going to be spamming RPGs everywhere and make the game just feel completely pointless for anyone and like RNG dependent, that you just don't run into someone that has like 10 rockets and just fires them into buildings and there's nothing you can do about it. Now, it's controversial. I just don't think that we really needed RPGs in the game. And even though they're single use, you never really know if someone's just going to whip out an RPG and just fire it straight into the window where you're at, or a building willy-nilly or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, for PvE, it's not really going to be that much of a difference because I'm sure that well, the AI are not going to actually have RPGs, so that should be fine. But for PvP players, yeah, it's going to become like a weird meta where someone just pulls one out and just launches it into a building. And if you're in a group of 5, for example, and everyone's using RPGs, yeah, you got 5 single uses, so it could be very devastating for anyone trying to just play the game normally as a solo player. Of course, then there's a huge Unity 2022 update, I believe it's 2022. It was quite a quick overview anyway, but it's the whole game engine changes that they're going to be adding into the New Year's patch, or at least that's the intended time for when it comes out. I believe Nikita actually wanted to do this in this update right now, but they delayed it because there would have been a ton of bugs, and we don't need any more bugs in Tarkov right now. So I think that is a good idea, even though I would have loved to have seen it in this update. It's not the biggest and end of the world. I'd rather have a much more solid and bug-free game than them releasing it way too early, and that being the case. So yeah, that's good. The Unity 2022. It's going to hopefully update like optimization within the actual game. The game engine will hopefully make the game run smoother, and just basically make the game just more optimized for everyone who wants to play, and just performance is going to be way better. Hopefully, I assume that that is the intended reason why they even bothered in the first place. So that is great. Character prestige system. This is another very, very controversial thing, especially if you play PvE. Now, we have been screaming in PvE that we would be able to prestige our characters, have something to do at the end game level if you do play PvE, such as myself, someone who has, you know, pretty much done most things in the PvE game mode. There's a few things that I haven't done and can do, but I'm trying to delay it as much as possible because I just want something to do rather than just running in raids and stuff like that for the sake of it, just taking my time. And I think that is something that I would recommend to everyone who does play PvE. I know a lot of casual players play PvE, so that is probably something you do anyway, but as you get towards the final end, this character prestige system is essentially going to reward people with special containers, armbands, collectible figurines and stuff like this as well. So there's going to be rewards for prestiging within the game, much like I was hoping that there would be. There is going to be 10 prestige levels to the actual prestige system, and the best thing about it is only for PvP. Yep, only for PvP. Now, I have no idea why they wouldn't roll this out for both game modes. Seems like a logical reason. I mean, if you're doing it for one, you should do it for the other. And yeah, especially considering that PvE is a ever expanding game mode, or at least like an evergreen game mode where your character never gets reset, there is no wipes, etc. The reason why you would have it on PvP, I don't think anyone is realistically going to get to the 10th prestige unless the wipes are like year long, and even then it's probably only going to be the hardcore streamers and stuff like that. So having that option for them is great, and everyone else can prestige how they want. But obviously for PvE players, people are going to want to do something once they've completed the game. Now, the only way you can prestige in the game is by completing the game. Wasn't too much information as to what they classify as completing the game, but I would assume that it is completing all of the tasks in the game. So that is something that I would guess is going to happen with the prestige system. It is, of course, coming out in the New Year's patch. And so yeah, very frustrating that they have limited it to only PvP. I have no idea why they would do this. It is an absolute travesty, in my opinion, to, you know, release this only for PvP. It seems like just an absolute kick in the face. I mean, BSG never wanted to make a PvE game mode. It was just basically the fact that loads of people were using SBT to be able to actually play single player Tarkov, and they probably wanted to monetize the audience who were doing that, and so they made PvE. It seems like they never actually want the game mode to be successful, just that it is there and people who like that sort of thing play the game, and a vast proportion of the whole player base do play PvE, and the fact that they've limited this prestige system to PvP only is just not a good decision, I think, in my eyes, especially for anyone that does play PvE, as the game mode does get stale. And the thing is that PvE players are probably not going to go and play PvP if you're kind of forcing them to do that once they've completed a PvE account. So yeah, they're probably just not going to play the game. And yeah, maybe they will play PvP, but the actual time spent on the game and their willingness to spend money on the game is probably going to go down once people do start to kind of max out their accounts on PvE. Of those players that do play PvE, obviously PvP players are going to play however much they do, but it just seems like an absolute swing and just a terrible miss. I mean, is it even a swing, in my opinion? Probably not. It's more like just a complete miss entirely. So yeah, then we've got some rework. So we've got the customs rework. They're going to be adding in an additional place where you can go into, and this is going to be much like the factory rework. That's what they're saying it's going to be like. So, you know, just overall should be pretty good. I don't think anyone's going to complain about customs rework. Hopefully some better loot on the actual map itself. And there was also talk about loot rework as well coming into the game. So hopefully we'll see some improved loot on some of the lower tier loot maps where it just feels like, you know, I mean, customs is decent for loot in some regards, but at the same time, unless you've got some of the high-end keys, like the Dorm's Mark Dream key, it's not the greatest map for loot in general. So yeah, hopefully we'll get some just better general loot spawns that can make the map more profitable if you do run it, as opposed to like when you compare it against something like labs or any of the other maps in the game. Streets, that sort of thing. There's also going to be a quest for wood specifically, and to do with the BTR, I believe. So something that to be noted. And on that BTR topic, the RPG 26 will actually be an anti-BTR weapon. Now, I don't know how this is going to work, whether you can actually take out the BTR, but given what Nikita actually said about it, it seems like that might be the case, and it might be something that you can do. So that's kind of cool. There's also new exit types, so they're going to be changing that. with this update that's actually come out today, some of the locations, I believe, of the actual extracts have changed for the transit locations. So where you transit is going to be more likely to be around the area at which the transit location on the map you're going to is actually at. So rather than spawning on the opposite side of the map to where you would normally want to transfer back. So say you're going from labs to customs, and if you go for, I don't even know that that's a transit, but as an example, if you're going from like labs to customs and then you go onto the customs map, you'll spawn near the customs to labs transit instead of, spawning completely nowhere near it. So I think that's the idea. Hideout customization is also coming in the New Year's patch, so you'll be able to customize your hideout. Not really any information, no screenshots as to what that customization is going to look like, but pretty good. Winter camouflages are also coming into the game. They should be on screen right now, so you can have a look at those. It's like backpack skins as well as actual like character skins that you can actually have on your character as well. So going to help with the winter season. Obviously it's autumn season at the minute, or fall season, depending on where you live in the world and what you want to term it. But yeah, we have got that in the game currently, and then it will move into winter when the update goes live. So the snow and obviously camo is probably going to actually help. Not massively, but at the same time, if you are actually changing your camouflage or your character to suit the landscape, it might make it slightly easier to avoid being like detected and make it slightly harder for your opponents to see you, which is going to give you an advantage. Hopefully this is not going to be a paywalled thing, because although it would be a cosmetic, it does give you an advantage. And so anything that gives you an advantage like that, for example, that is not like a weird skin that just sticks out like a sore thumb and is actually giving you an advantage, I think should be obtainable just through playing the game. So as a ruble purchase or something like that, rather than a paid purchase, because that could be definitely an issue. Then one of the nicest things, I think, quality of life wise, they've got uninterrupted healing. So healing by holding the medical item. So rather than, for example, you put on you use a grizzly, for example, and you repair your arm, and then it comes out of the grizzly, and then you have to press the grizzly again, and then it will heal your right arm, and then your left leg and your right leg. Now what you'll be able to do with the New Year's patch update, will be able to hold the healing button, and it will just go through all of your limbs whilst you're holding down the button. You exit the button, and then it will stop healing and just stop on the limb that you are currently at. So that is kind of a good quality of life thing, rather than having to spam the button every single time you want to actually repair something else on your body. So that is a good one. Weapon mastering rebalance as well. So currently there's weapon mastering. It's not really that interesting, and hopefully they just be doing some revisions to it, make it a little bit more useful and stuff like that. So that would be great. One of the other controversial things is the booby trapping of bodies. So you'll be able to actually booby trap bodies with, for example, tripwires and stuff like that, traps. So yeah, that's going to lead to a lot of trolling, I guess, especially if you play PvP. And if you play PvE, hopefully you'll be able to actually see the traps, and it makes it quite obvious if you play PvP as well. So just making it obvious that a body has been booby trapped, rather than, it being a very, very subtle thing where it's kind of just RNG. If you go up to someone and you try and loot something, that the body isn't just going to be just scuffed. So fingers crossed that that isn't going to be too bad, and that it's done in the right way. Fingers crossed, but I don't hold out too much hope. Then there is also a recall rework as well that is coming into the game, or may be coming into the game, or given the fact that Nikita had a tantrum on the stream, it might not be, because everyone was saying, why have they reworked the recall? Nikita was saying that it hasn't actually changed the recoil, but there's going to be more rotation. Now, I'm not entirely sure if this was just lost in translation, but it looked quite visual. I don't know if it's just visual recall or actual recall changes. He said that the recall hasn't changed from currently, but they've added rotation. Now, I'm not entirely sure if that's of the weapon, but the actual rounds go in the same place. It just wasn't very clear, and maybe that is what they were intending, that the recoil pattern hasn't actually changed, but the actual visual animation of it has changed to look more realistic. Now, no idea, but the sight seemed to go all over the place, and the sight wasn't in like directly, it was like jiggling all over the place, which is more realistic, but at the same time, is that actually affecting the recoil patterns and everything? We just don't know. Didn't seem to be the best. it was just some footage in the shooting range in a hideout showing off the recoil. But hopefully that will get kind of discussed a bit more. I felt like it wasn't the best and most clear explanation. Maybe actually having a heat tracking map to show that the recoil hasn't changed would be great if they are possible to do that. It would just be super clear, and then you don't get the backlash like what happened on the stream when you're saying that recoil is changing and people don't like it, and then you get angry about it. You know, it is what it is. But he said that he will just scrap it and we're not doing it. I very much doubt that that is probably going to be the case. It's probably just that it was annoying that people didn't like the new recoil rework. So maybe with a bit more clarity, people will understand what he actually meant. Or maybe if he does mean what he does actually mean and people were right, then maybe they shouldn't actually do it. So just a bit more clarity on what the actual thing is. But that seems to be pretty much everything for the update. There's a lot of information packed into the stream, and hopefully I have covered most of it. I'm not saying I've covered absolutely everything that was actually discussed on the stream, but I tried my best to make as many notes as possible and get the information to you guys. Remember, if you have anything extra, if I've missed anything out, make sure to comment in the comment section down below. Anything that has quite a few topics that I've missed or whatever, then I will pin it in the comment section down below. So you should see that if any of you have any extra bits that were mentioned in the stream that I have missed in the video. So highly recommend checking that one out. And of course, if you want to check out what has actually come out with this patch and kind of some of the information, then you can check out yesterday, which covers some of that information for today's patch, other than of course the zombies and everything that comes along with that was released in the stream today. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Have a great rest of the day. Goodbye.